Hello everybody, welcome to Megha Discourse, and in today's video we would be discussing our question paper of 2024 GATE examination which was conducted by IIT Bengaluru, right? So let us just start our video. I hope you have already watched the videos of 2021, 2022, 2023 and now it's 2024. After this we would upload the PYQ of 2025, right? And in all these PYQ analysis, we are analyzing the question paper really well. We are analyzing the English literature portion, as we know that we have to know the answer, but at the same time we are also analyzing the other three options that are not right. So let us just start our video, and I hope you have already watched our strategy video, that for the last 10 days what you have to do. In that strategy video of last 10 days for GATE English, I have given you the most important topics, the exam pattern, the tips and the tricks that you have to follow while attempting the question paper, right? And that strategy is a kind of game changer for you even if you are a beginner, right? So let us just start our this video and move forward. Now we should know that question number 27 to 44 will be of 1 marks each, right? So whenever you attempt your question paper, please remember this thing, okay? Always read the instructions that are given here, okay? So first we have the question is, the love song of J. Irving Pufok is N. So here the answer would be dramatic monologue, right? What is a dramatic monologue? It is a kind of literary technique. क्या है ये एक literary technique होती है in which there is a person, or we can say there is a speaker who is giving the dialogues, giving a monologue. Monologue means that there would be one speaker and all the people on the stage will listen to that person, okay, and they will remain silent, okay. So that is dramatic monologue. So this is written by T.S. Eliot, as we have already discussed this in the previous videos also. And the dramatic monologue is most famous of our writers, like we have Robert Browning. Robert Browning is very famous for dramatic monologues, right? And also we should know his dramatic monologue, like we have The Last Duchess. This can come into your examination, right? My Last Duchess. And then we have, and there are also many examples of dramatic monologues that we have. For instance, we have Dover Beach, that is written by Matthew Arnold. Then we have Ulysses, that is written by Tennyson. So please remember. And also Robert Browning की आपको एक और dramatic monologue याद रखना है, that is Porphyria's Lover, okay. They can ask you these in the next paper, okay. When it comes to the other options, but then we have ode. What is an ode? Ode is a kind of poetry, or we can say a lyric poetry, that we always write or sing for to glorify something, or to we can say praise, in order to praise something, or किसी की tribute में हम लिखते हैं, right? So that is known as ode. We have different kinds of ode, like we have Pindaric ode, we have regular, we have irregular odes, okay. In that you do not need to go in detail, but for ode you should know that it is meant to to praise someone, to appreciate someone. And for ode we have the John Keats, our romantic writer, who is very famous for his odes, right? He has written so many odes, like we have ode on aggression, on okay, the ode to a nightingale. So ये ode हमें याद रखनी है. And also we should know that ode हमने Wordsworth has also written an ode, जिसको हम बोलते हैं ode on intimations of immortality. उसको हम great ode भी बोल देते हैं, ठीक है. उसका एक्चुअल नाम हम याद रखेंगे, right? So that is also important. And also there is a poem that is written by Ode to the West Wind by P.B. Shelley. So also remember that, because these are the classical examples of our English literature and they can be asked in the GATE examination, okay. Now we have other options. For instance, then we have haiku. What is a haiku? Haiku, you should know, haiku is a 3-line poem. It is just a 3-line poem, and it is a Japanese, okay, it is a Japanese poem. It is a Japanese 3-line poem that is known as haiku. In the haiku we have first most famous example, that is of Matsuo Basho. Just remember this name, okay. He has written one great haiku, that is the Old Pond, okay. This is the most famous example I am giving. If they ask you, then you would get 1 or 2 marks, so there is no loss. And then we have Villanelle. What is a Villanelle? Villanelle is a 19-line poem and this is French, that is villanelle. Or the most famous example of villanelle is, do not go gentle into that good night. Now this is a poem by Thomas. Okay, just remember these things. Next question we have, match the following pairs of fictional characters with the author who created them. Okay, so we have to match. Now let us just match them. So first we have Phyllis Fogg and Jean Passepartout. Now these characters are, written by Jules Verne. Okay, please remember there is a work which is a around the world in 80 days. Okay, so this is the work of Jules Verne, and in this work he has, invented these fictional characters. Now this we have Fogg. Now Fogg is one person who wants to, explore the world in just 80 days, right? So ye passport se yaad rakhna. Okay, then we have second option, that is Don Quixote and Sancho Panza. Now these are the most famous characters of, our Miguel de Cervantes. Okay, and they are in the work of Don Quixote. Okay, that is a kind of adventure work. Okay, because in these Sancho Panza is a squire. Okay, and this is the hero, so they both go to an adventure, or we can say it is a kind of chivalric romance. Okay, then we have another work which is by Candide Pangloss. Now these are the characters in the work of Candide, and this is a very famous work by our Voltaire, French. Okay, Candide and Pangloss, and in this we see that how there is a philosophy, that is Leibnizian philosophy, and according to that philosophy, the hero who is Candide and the Pangloss who is the teacher of Candide, he says that everything is good in the world, the universe is always right. But here Candide said that no, we should not be optimistic always. We should not be optimistic always. Candide means optimistic. Okay, then we have Dogberry and Vergis. Now these are the comic characters of, William Shakespeare in Much Ado About Nothing. Okay, please remember these things, and they are very much into malapropism. What is malapropism? Malapropism means to, say wrong words. For instance, they would say exhibition instead of examination. So that is malapropism. Okay, to misuse words, right? So that is known as, it is a kind of disorder, we can say. In the next question, which one of the following is a famous detective character created by Edgar Allan Poe? Now Edgar Allan Poe has written, horror works, has written, detective works also. So here our Auguste Dupin is, one character that has been, written by our Edgar Allan Poe. And then there are other characters like the Magritte, we have Miss Marple. Now these two are the characters of Agatha Christie. She is also, very famous for detective fictions, and she is also known as Queen of Crime because she has written so many crime related works, right? Agatha Christie, right? And Auguste Dupin is very famous character of Edgar Allan Poe, and he also appears in the works like, the Purloined Letter. It is a short story, very famous. Okay, and then we have Arsène Lupin. Now the thief. This character is also related to crime, and he is a thief by La Blanc. He is another writer. Okay, now here is the horror. These are the last words of. So the answer would be Goods in Heart of Darkness. Okay, so this would be the answer because these are the last lines of Goods in the Heart of Darkness, and Heart of Darkness is written by Joseph Conrad. Please remember, this is very important work. Okay, because this is based on the imperialist theme, that how there is a Quds who goes into the Congo state, and there we have so many African people, and he kinds of become a tyrant there. He rules them, he tries to rule them. Okay, so it is a kind of critique of this imperialism. Okay, it is a post-colonial work, we can say. Then we have other options, which is Lady Macbeth in Macbeth. So these are not the answer. By the way, this is the work by William Shakespeare, Lady Macbeth. And in this we have most important, I'm just telling you the most important lines of these works. So in this we have tomorrow, right? So ये जो line है, this is by इसमें, this is by Macbeth. Okay, then we have Captain Ahab in Moby Dick. Now Moby Dick, now this work is written by Herman Melville. Okay, this is an American work, and the opening line of this work is very famous, which is, call me Ishmael. Please go and watch the top 100 opening lines of the works. We have already a video on this topic. You can go and check our playlist. And then we have Jonathan Harker in Dracula. Now this is by Bram Stoker, and this is a horror work, please remember. Okay, Eric Arthur Blair was born in Motihari, Bihar. He went on to become famous as an author of a dystopian work, okay, which introduced the term newspeak, thought crime, double speak, and he wrote under the pseudonym. Now this is a very important topic because they are always asking pseudonyms. If you have watched the earlier 20, 21, 22, 23 PYQs, so this is a very important topic, and we also have the video on pseudonyms, so please go and check. Here our George Orwell, because he has written 1984, which is a dystopian work, and in this we have these terms, okay, that there is a ruler who does not want people to to speak. The news will not speak anything. There would be no critical thinking, because thinking is a kind of crime in that Oceania state. And then we have double speak, that there would be double things, there will be opposite ideas, right? And you have to accept both the ideas. For instance, he says war is peace. So how can war is peace? So we have double ideas, so we have to think double. Okay, so he wrote this is the Eric Arthur Blair is the name of the writer, and this is his George Orwell is his pseudonym. Okay, and then you should also know we have Ruskin Bond, who is very famous for children literature. Then we have Rudyard Kipling. Rudyard Kipling is also famous for children literature. He has also written very famous poem, that is If. Now this If is one of my favorite poems. And he also talks of the white man's burden. What is a white man's burden? If you know, white man's burden means that the white people, the Britishers, have a burden that they have to educate Indians. This is the kind of theory they used to believe in, that they have to educate us, they have to make us civilized. So that is why they used to think themselves as superior. So this was their burden. And then we have E.M. Foster. Now E.M. Foster has written for A Passage to India. Okay, so these are some of the important works. So look around these topics a little bit on Google, and we would also include all these topics, repeated topics, in our marathons. Then we have, I started writing in Gikuyu language in 1977 after 17 years of involvement in Afro-African literature, right? So in my case, Afro-English literature, wherever I have gone, particularly in Europe, I have been confronted with the question, why are you now writing in Gikuyu? Why do you now write in an African language? Now identify the author. So here the author is Ngugi wa Thiong'o, right? Because here, first of all, when it comes to Ngugi wa Thiong'o, now all these writers are first of all African writers, right? They are from the African subcontinent, right? But even in the Africa we have different states, right? So for instance, Ngugi is from the Kenya state, so we can say she is a Kenyan writer, but she is African. Okay, now she is very famous because she used to write in English first, but then she switched to Gikuyu language, which is their native language. Okay, Kenyan language hai, right? There is the work The River Between, very famous work of Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Then we have Nadine Gordimer. She is very famous for the July's people, very important work of Nadine Gordimer. Okay, she was also winner of Nobel Prize in Literature, and she is from South Africa. Okay, when it comes to Wole Soyinka, as I have already discussed the last PYQ, and in which there was a poem of Wole Soyinka, telephone conversations. So you have to read that poem and write the answers of that passage. And Wole Soyinka is a Nigerian writer. Okay, and then we have Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, right? So Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie is also Nigerian writer, very famous for her works like Half of a Yellow Sun, which they has already asked in PYQ. Okay, so that is why I'm telling you to go and watch all the PYQs. Come on the basis of genre, which of the following does not belong in this group? So here the answer would be Ravan and Eddie by Kiran Nagarkar. Now this is again a PYQ because they have already asked this option. So they repeat the options, because if this is the option this year, then next year it can be the answer. So that is why I always recommend you to know about all the three options, right? So here Ravan and Eddie is a work by Kiran Nagarkar. Now this is a novel, right? But these Harvest by Manjula Padman Bhan, then we have Tara by Mahesh Dattani, Sakharam Binder by Vijay Tendulkar, all these are plays. ये भी play है, ये भी play है. Okay, that is why they are common, because they are asking genre, right? When I was discussing about the syllabus in my last 10 days strategy, I have already told you that they would mix the genres, they would mix the writers, they would mix the works from different nations. That is the comparative literature. So they have mentioned this thing. There is this Harvest. This is a dystopian work. This Tara, this is about the two children who were joined when they were born, but when they got separated, there was a girl, there was a boy, and there was a kind of gender discrimination between the two, right? We have Sakharam Binder by Vijay Tendulkar. Vijay Tendulkar is also famous for Silence, the court is in session. Shantataha, court chalu ahe. Okay, Sakharam Binder, there is a binder, book binder named Sakharam. In the home of Sakharam, we have different women who are deserted by their own husbands, right? So they live in the home of Sakharam, right? So that is how he spends his life. Okay, so here we have The Mad Woman in the Attic, the title of Sandra Gilbert and Susan Goober's iconic feminist examination of Victorian literature, alludes to which classical novel? And Jane Eyre, which was written by Charlotte Bronte, right? Tell me her pseudonym in the comment section. Okay, this is your homework and you have to do it, because this was a PYQ. So if you're watching all the series, you will be knowing the answer of this, right? We have a character which is Bertha Mason. She was always locked by her husband Rochester in the room, right? So this is a kind of feminist critique of this work, right? Jane Eyre, that the mad woman, because she has been called the mad woman, Bertha Mason ko, that she is in the attic. And the Sandra Gilbert and Susan Goober ka jo ye work hai, the mad woman in attic, they say that why a woman is always treated like either as a goddess, very good, or as a why there is no neutrality, because we are human, we are neither god, we are neither beast, so we should treat women as an individual. Then we have Middlemarch, which is written by George Eliot. Now she is very famous for socialist realism. There is a socialist realism in her works. She has also written works like we have Adam Bede. You will see the question of this also. We have The Mill on the Floors, very important work. Go and look at the characters, the main characters, one or two characters of these works, right? Then we have Diary of a Madman. Now this is a short story. Okay, short story by Nicole. Now this Nicole is a Russian writer, and this short story is about a clerk who goes mad. Okay, so it is a diary of a madman. Just remember this. And then we have Wuthering Heights. Now Wuthering Heights is by Emily Bronte. It is a gothic romance. It is about the love story of Heathcliff, Catherine, okay, on the moorlands, right? This is very interesting, I would say, novel. And please tell me the pseudonym of Emily Bronte. Now this is also a PYQ. There is, so for homework you have to tell me the pseudonym of Emily Bronte and the Charlotte Bronte. These are the Bronte sisters. Okay, remember. Agatha Christie broke a fundamental rule of detective fiction in, as I have already told you, that Agatha Christie is related to detective fiction. Okay, now this, she has broken the rule of detective fiction. Now the age in which she was writing, because in those times there were so many works of detective fiction. Okay, so that was a golden age of detective fiction. Okay, so in this golden age we used to have some rules that you cannot break those rules. You have to be a good detective writer. Okay, but she did break the rules, right? In the work The Murder of Roger Oakyard, she has broke those rules. Please remember this thing, right? And the other works like Death on the Nile, 3-Act Tragedy, Murder on the Orient Express, just remember the names, because these are also the works of Agatha Christie. Okay, what was the rule that she has broken? So let me tell you. One of the rules was that the narrator cannot be a murderer. Narrator cannot be a murderer, but she made the narrator murder in that detective fiction. So this was one of the rules which she has broken. Okay. Now we have Dorothea Brooke and Edward Casaubon, Hattie Sorrell, Stephen Guest. Now these are all the characters created by. So here the answer would be George Eliot, right? Because Dorothy Brooke, Edward Casaubon are in the works of, so they are in the Middlemarch. Okay, and this Hattie Sorrell is in Adam Bede. Just remember these names. At least remember these names, okay? If you cannot remember all the important characters, at least remember these that are given in the previous year questions. Then we have Stephen Guest, okay, who is in the Mill on the Floors. So these are all the characters that are created by George Eliot, and there is one character that is Maggie Tulliver. She is very important. And one character, Dina Morris, Nellie Dean. ये 3 characters और करके जाना. This is very important. Okay. Then we have other options. So here we have Charlotte Bronte, who has written Jane Eyre, right? So Jane Eyre में Jane, she is the character, and there is Rochester, जो उसका husband है, and then we have another character that was Bertha Mason. She was the wife of Rochester before Jane. Okay. So know these 3 characters of Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. Okay. When it comes to Jane Austen, Jane Austen is very famous for novel of manners. Very sentimental novels, novel of manners, that in a society you should have manners, you should behave like aristocrats, you should have dining etiquettes, you should wear clothes like them, you should speak in such a way. So that is a novel of manners, because if you see in the work of Pride and Prejudice, very famous work of Jane Austen. In this we have Darcy, Fitzwilliam Darcy, right? Elizabeth, very famous. We have Bingley. So remember these names of all these characters. Okay, in this we see how there is a pride and prejudice, right? That the woman is having, the woman is prejudiced, that all the people, all the men are like that. And then we have Darcy, who is from an aristocratic class, but he has a pride that he cannot marry a woman who is not of aristocratic. And she was also, provoked by his sisters to not to marry her because she is not an aristocratic, right? So remember this. And we have also other work like Emma of Jane Austen. And then we have Walter Scott. Walter Scott, who is, known as the father of historical novels. He is the father of historical novels. And Walter Scott is also famous for Waverley novels, because in these Waverley novels we have so many novels, right? And the name is by the author of Waverley. So that is why all these novels are known as Waverley novels. Okay, and he has also written one very important narrative poem, that is The Lay of Last Minstrel. You should know these facts. Okay, let us just move to another. So here we have Charulata is an adaptation of which work by Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore is, a Bengali polymath. Polymath means somebody who has knowledge of so many subjects, right? Who has read so many things. He has also won Nobel Prize for Literature. He has also written Gitanjali, right? And the preface of Gitanjali, or we can say the introduction of Gitanjali, was written by W.B. Yeats, another PYQ of GATE, right? And he is also known as, the Bard of Bengal. Now Charulata is an adaptation. Now this was adapted by Satyajit Ray. ठीक है, Satyajit Ray. He is the director, film director, and this is an adaptation of The Broken Nest by Rabindranath Tagore. You should know this fact. It is about a woman who has married, right? But she is alone. Her nest, her family has been broken, and the name of that woman is Charulata. Remember this thing. Okay, so then we have the Gora. It is a kind of post-colonial work based on the post-colonial themes. Then we have 4 chapters, right? And then we have the Home and the Word. Now this is also adapted by Satyajit Ray by Satyajit Ray in English, and in Hindi it is Ghar Bhare. Okay, this ऐसा कुछ title है इसका. So these are all the works of Rabindranath Tagore. So please remember all these facts. Which of the following is not a part of Theban trilogy? Now here the answer would be Medea. Okay, because Oedipus Rex we have, then Oedipus et Colonus, then we have Antigone. Okay, so ये सारी क्या है? Theban trilogy, and Theban trilogy was written by Sophocles, very important. And in this Oedipus Rex, यहाँ से हमारे पास आता है Oedipus complex. What is Oedipus complex? I told you in my last videos of 2021, 2022, 2023. As we have already discussed, it's about the relation, romantic relation, we can say, or infantile relation between the mother and the son. Okay, so from there, this work we get to know about this, and this complex was given by Sigmund Freud. Okay, in psychoanalytic criticism. In this, we see how there is an Oedipus, the king, and there is a prophecy, oracles of Delphi, that this king, will, marry his mother, his own mother, and will kill his father. Right? As the plot moves forward, we get to know that this is the truth. And when he discovers that yes, I was the one who killed my, father and married my own mother, right? So then what he will do, he will pluck out his eyes, right? And he will have to go to an exile, right? And in that exile he goes to Colonus. This is the second part. And he has also a daughter, this Antigone. She will take the revenge for him. Okay, so this is the third part of this trilogy. Okay, and this Medea is a play that is written by Euripides, who is also very famous for tragedies. They were the contemporaries. Remember this thing. Okay, she is a very feminist character because she takes the revenge. She is very much cruel, that she will kill a woman because that woman is having an affair with her husband. Okay, let us just move on another. The literary term apostrophe denotes. So here the answer would be B, an address to a person or a personified idea or power. As I have already told you what is apostrophe. Apostrophe means to call, to address, to address somebody or a person or a power, that is apostrophe. For instance, if I say, oh wild west wind, oh wild west wind, so I am calling west wind, so that is known as apostrophe, right? So here B would be the answer. In the line, what's Hecuba to him and he to Hecuba, he refers to, what is he here? So first of all, these are the lines that are written by William Shakespeare in Hamlet. Now in the Hamlet, there is Hamlet who is watching a play. The play, in that play there is an actor who is performing a scene of Trojan War. In the Trojan War we had Hecuba as a character. Okay, so these actors were doing the acting, and while they were acting they were crying for Hecuba, for his loss. Okay, they were lamenting the loss of Hecuba. So there Hamlet thinks that why they are crying? I am the person, my father is dead now and I'm not able to take the revenge, right? And Hecuba at the same time is of no relation to these writers, to these actors. Hecuba is nobody of these actors, but still these actors are crying like the thing has happened in the reality. But at the same time, my father has died in the reality and I'm not able to take the revenge. So it means that they are more serious toward their work, they're more serious in their actions, they're not delaying. Okay, so in that context he says that what's Hecuba to him and he to Hecuba. So that is why. Letters of the following is or are not a play based on William Shakespeare. Okay, so here the answer would be, first of all we should look at this term, that is note. Okay, so here the answer would be George Bernard Shaw's Pygmalion. Now this is not a work that is based on William Shakespeare, because G.B. Shaw has written this work Pygmalion, and this Pygmalion was a mythic character. Okay, in Pygmalion what happens is that there is a statue, there is a blind person who makes a statue by the imagination. Okay, so that blind person is the creator here. Okay, similarly in the G.B. Shaw's play Pygmalion we see that how there is Figgins as a professor of linguistics, and there is a girl Eliza Doolittle. Okay, and he wants to create her, he wants her to learn linguistics, to learn a certain accent, to behave like a rich person, but she does not agree. Okay, so that is why the name of this work is Pygmalion, that he wants to become the creator of this character, but she will not let him do so. But this is not based on Shakespeare, that's fine. Then we have Ian McEwan. Now he has written a work Nutshell, right? In the Nutshell we see there is a Hamlet who is an unborn fetus yet. Okay, and the parents are Trudy here is and Claudy, right? The uncle of Hamlet and the mother of Hamlet. So here the unborn fetus who is in the stomach of Trudy is kind of listening about the planning of these two in order to kill old Hamlet, the father of Hamlet, right? So this is based on Shakespeare's Hamlet, so this would be the answer first. Then we have Girish Karnad's The Fire and the Rain. right? So this is based on some, you know, myth, Indian myth. And then we have Akira Kurosawa's Throne of Blood. Now this is a Japanese work. Akira is a Japanese writer, and Throne of Blood is based on Macbeth. Okay, here we have a character who is Macbeth, then another character who is Lady Macbeth. So वो उस पे based है. So this is also, you know, based on Shakespeare's work, right? But here the question is not based. So not based में आंसर हमारा क्या आ जाएगा? एक तो ये वाला A and this one, because these are not based but these are based, because now we are having question number 41. 40 तक हमारे क्या थे? MCQs थे. Now we are having MSQs. Okay, you know, here the answer would be A and C. Done. Which of the following is or are not composed by Kalidas? So here the answer would be, you know, Mich Katika is a Sanskrit play that is written by Shudrak. Okay. Then we have Abhigyan Shakuntala, that is also a play written by Kalidas. Then we have Meghdut, it is also written by Kalidas, right? And this is not a play, by the way, this is a lyric poem, we can say. Then we have Natyashastra. Now this is a kind of dramaturgy, right? Theory, Indian aesthetics का work है, that how to write drama, right? And in this we have given the Ras theory by Bharat Muni, very important work. Okay, so which of the following is not composed by Kalidas? So here the answer would be A and, you know, this D, right? So these would be the answers. Which of these writers are associated with Progressive Writers Association, PWA? Okay, so इससे कौन कौन से जुड़े हुए हैं? So here the answer would be, you know, B, C and D, because this is a very repeated question, that Ismat Chugdai and Premchand, Rajinder Singh Bedi. So these are, you know, the writers that are associated with Progressive Writers Association, and this was, you know, in London this was established in 1935, and in India this was established in 1936. Now it is a kind of group of writers. These writers wants to, you know, people to write the works on social realism, or against, we can say, the rich people, the bourgeois people. They want that we should show the reality in our works. They have a progressive thinking. And the other people who are related to this group are, you know, Faiz Ahmad, Faiz, Mulk Raj Anand. Okay, so remember these. And also we have, you know, Manto, Saadat Hasan Manto. He is also related to these writers. And the Premchand, who has, yes, here is the answer. So Premchand has written Godan. Remember, he has written Godan, Kafan, The Shroud. Short stories hai, ye novel hai. This is a short story. And then we have Rajinder Singh Bedi and Ismat Chugtai ho gaya. And Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, he has written the first novel in English by an Indian. The name of this novel was Rajmohan's Wife. Which of the following novels is or are written by African American women? So here the answer would be A, The Color Purple, which was written by, you know, Alice Walker. She has introduced a term which is womanism. Very important question in theory. Womanism. Okay, Alice. Now this is also an epistolary novel. Epistolary novel. Because here there is a use of letters that Celie, the character, writes to the god, right? And she says that why she is being exploited, sexually exploited by her own father. Okay, The Color Purple. Then we have The Ink Black Heart. Now The Ink Black Heart is a novel by J.K. Rowling, who is very famous for Harry Potter series. If you know, she is the one who has written this series, Harry Potter. You should thank her. Then we have My Name is Red. Now this is by Orhan Pamuk. This is a postmodern work, okay? And he is, you know, Turkish writer. So talks about how to write a novel. And then another answer here is The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. Okay, Toni Morrison. Again a PYQ getting repeated. She talks of feminism plus magical realism. Magical realism, very important. Do not forget to, you know, revise these topics, right? So here, and she is also famous, Toni Morrison is also famous for Beloved. Okay, so here the answer would be A and D, because are written by African American women. So ये दोनों क्या है, हमारी African American women है. The following options is not the title of a play. So here The Spanish Tragedy is a play. Doll's House is a play. Now this is written by Henrik Ibsen, who is also known as the father of modern drama. Okay, and Spanish tragedy is written by Thomas Kyd. He was a university wit, okay, in the Renaissance age, and this is a kind of revenge tragedy, one of the first revenge tragedies of our English literature. This is a play, and Mother Courage and Her Children. This is also a play by Bertolt Brecht, who is famous for epic theatre. That in a theatre, we should have a distancing effect. That audience should not relate everything that is going on the stage. No, there should be some distance so that we can observe that the things that are happening in front of us are a kind of lesson for us. We have to learn from that. We do not have to cry with the actors. Okay, so that is known as distancing effect, or we can say how an theater should be, epic theater. Okay, and then we have scenes from a clerical life. Now this is a short story by George Eliot. Okay, so here not the title of a play, so this would be the answer. Okay, match each fictional character with the author who created them, right? So here let us see Uriah Heep. This is a character which was in the Charles Dickens' David Copperfield. I have already told you that there are some works of Charles Dickens which you should remember, like Hard Times, Great Expectations. We have David Copperfield, right? A Tale of Two Cities. So look at a few main characters, protagonists at least, of these works. Okay, so and in order to solve these, match the followings. We have already talked about Stephen Dedalus at a great deal in our PYQ, in which I have told you about the Stephen Dedalus, about the fall of Icarus, if you know. So even if you are not familiar with the other three characters, you will still be able to solve these questions. That is why I always tell you to, go through the question, go through the MCQs, other options, right? So when it comes to Stephen Dedalus, so here we should match Stephen Dedalus with the James Joyce. Now this was a character in A Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man. So if we match B with the A, so here B with the A, we have two options. Okay, let us eliminate. So this would be matched by this. Then we have Bazarov. Now this Bazarov is a character of Ivan Turgenev, right? And he's a Russian writer in the work Father and Sons. Okay. And Raskolnikov, very famous work by Fyodor Dostoevsky, Crime and Punishment. Crime and Punishment. Right? So if you have solved the PYQs, you might have known Dickens' work, you might have known James Joyce. So if we are able to solve a few options, then we can eliminate others. So that is how we solve. Okay, so if I match Uriah Heep with A with the 4, so this would be the answer, even if you know just two options. Let us go to another question. Now, what do the following works have in common, right? So Andhayug, The Second Turn, Parv and Sarpasatra. So these are all based on the Mahabharat, you should know. Okay, Andhayug hai, Second Turn, this is by Mahashweta Devi. Okay, Sarpasatra is also by Mahashweta Devi. Okay, and look at the writers of Andhayug and Parv also. Now Parv is based on the Gandhari, and Andhayug is also based on the Mahabharat. These are all based on the Mahabharat. Okay, match the text with the language they were originally written in. So always look at the words originally written pucha hai. Okay, so Waiting for a Visa is an autobiography, a Dalit autobiography. We have a video on Dalit literature also. I know that you have so many things to do, but we have some crisp videos. Go and just watch them. Okay, we have the autobiographies, because this is a very repeated topic of GATE exam. So Waiting for a Visa is written originally in English, and this is an autobiography of Ambedkar ji, B.R. Ambedkar. Okay, the person who has written the Constitution of India. Okay, then we have The Prisons We Broke. Now Prisons We Broke is another autobiography that is originally written in Marathi. This is a PYQ, okay, by Baby Tai Kamble. And there was on the original title क्या था मैंने बताया था एक वीडियो में, Amujha Jeena. Okay, then we have another, The Revenue Stamp and Autobiography. Now this is an autobiography of Amrita Pritam, Punjabi writer है Amrita Pritam. And Jhuthan is a Dalit a Dalit's life, and this was originally written in Hindi, and this was of Valmiki. Now we have to match the excerpts with the text that they have taken from. So here, a son who will never be older than his motherland. Motherland की बात आ रही है, son की बात आ रही है. Neither older nor younger, because the son is born on the day when India is getting independence. Okay, there shall be two heads, right? Because there would be two boys who will be born, but you will only see one, the nation, and there will be knees and nose and nose and knees, because we have two characters, Salim and Shiva, in Midnight Children. So Shiva has a power in his knees, and Salim has a power in his nose, supernatural powers. That is why I am telling you that this Midnight Children is a work of magical realism. This is a line, of Midnight Children by Salman Rushdie. Okay, then we have another, that is that it really began in the days when the love laws were made, the laws that lay down who should be loved and how much should. That in the old days people have set standards and rules that whom we should marry, the laws of love, and who should we love and how much should we love. So these are the lines of The Goat of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. Okay, so remember this. Then we have another, that is she had dispersed, she was the garden at Prem Nivas, and she was the Veena's love of music, Prana's asthma, Man's generosity, the temperament of Bhaskar's great grandchildren, for all ministers of revenue ambitions with she was a regret. So here a suitable boy, in which Vikram Seth, is talking about the life of a girl, that after marriage she becomes so many characters for so many people, right? She will become sister of somebody, wife of somebody, daughter-in-law of somebody, so she has having so many roles now. So this is the thing. 3 years after the 1947 of partition, it occurred to the governments of India and Pakistan to exchange their lunatics, right? The mad people, as they have exchanged their criminals. Now India and Pakistan, after the partition, have to exchange the criminals, the asylums. Okay, so the Muslim lunatics in India, they have to be sent to Pakistan, and Pakistan से India आएंगे. So ये lines कहाँ से हैं? तोबा तेक सिंह से हैं, and this is by Saadat Hasan Manto. Okay, and God of Small Things किसने लिखी है? अरुंधति ने. I am telling you these writers are getting repeated, and this is by Salman Rushdie. ये हैं. Okay, next question we have is a widely used narrative technique. It allows narrators to temporarily inhabit the consciousness of any of their characters. Now this is called, so here the answer would be B, free indirect speech, because in the indirect speech, free indirect speech क्या होता है? First of all, this is indirect, okay, that the narrator will indirectly tell about the writers, about the views of the characters. Okay, what happens in the direct speech? In the direct speech, the narrator will say, she says I am okay. Now this is a direct speech, but indirect speech में क्या होगा? Indirect speech would be like, she says that she is okay. That is indirect speech, right? उसका direct बात नहीं बताई. But in free indirect speech में क्या होगा? So here in this he would not use these quotation marks and that. He will not use both of these things. He would just directly say that she is not fine, she is not okay. So that is, he is going in the consciousness of the characters. He is, going directly to the consciousness of the characters. So that is known as free indirect speech. And when it comes to other options, localized speech means whenever in the speech we, modify the speech into the local language, right? According to the Indian region, according to the British region, right? So जैसे कि proverb है कोई, तो उसको इंडियन में बता दिया, ट्रांसलेट कर दिया, उसको लोकल बना देना, ठीक है, लोकल टेस्ट उसमें ऐड कर देना, राइट? फॉर इंस्टेंस इफ देयर इज अ पर्सन हु इज कमिंग टू हरियाणा, तो उसकी स्पीच में देयर वुड बी सम हरियाणवी वर्ड्स, कुछ वो टेस्ट लाने की कोशिश करेगा. व्हेन इट गोज टू राजस्थान और साउथ रीजन, तो वो वहाँ पे जाके, और इन द साउथ रीजन, सो ही वुड ट्राई टू लोकलाइज हिज और हर स्पीच इन द सदर्न एक्सेंट, or he would use some words like that. Okay, then we have mimicked speech. Mimicked speech means to mimicry. Whenever we try to mimic somebody in our speech, whenever I, for instance, I'm trying to speak like somebody else, like some celebrity or some other authority person, so that is mimicked speech. Then empathetic speech means to show some empathy while speaking. So that is it. Which of the following statement is true of magic realism? So here the answer would be, it reveals the extraordinary in the heart of ordinary, because in the magical realism we have the ordinary setting, we have a realism. There would be realistic setting, realistic characters, realistic plot, right? Realistic incidents, everything would be realistic, but there would be some magic. It is the extraordinary magic in the heart of ordinary. Magical realism से related कौन कौन है? रश्दी हैं, already told you, रश्दी, टोनी मॉरिसन, we have Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Okay, remember these things. Okay, Dash wrote Adonis an elegy on the death of, fill in the blanks with correct pair. So here the answer would be C. P.B. Shelley wrote Adonis. P.B. Shelley is a romantic poet. He wrote an elegy that was Adonis on the death of John Keats. Please remember this thing. Okay, William Wordsworth, you should know, he has written preface to the lyrical ballads, and he S.T. Coleridge के साथ मिल के he has written preface to the lyrical ballad. S.T. Coleridge has written a poem that is the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and he has also given the terms of imagination, fancy, okay, secondary imagination. Then we have William Blake, who has written, he mostly writes the poems on animals, right? The tiger. Then we have Byron. Byron is a revolutionary kind of poet, right? Then we have Keats. Odes के लिए he's famous for his odes, like odes on a variation on odes to the nightingale or to the autumn, right? Then we have P.B. Shelley, who has written, you know, this Adonis, or to the west wind, or to the skylark. Okay, the following statements about the scarlet letter is correct. So here the answer would be, the scarlet letter of the title refers to the letter A. Okay, and it was written in the 19th century. So this is the answer. Now the scarlet letter has been written by Nathaniel Hawthorne. Okay, and he is an American writer. Please remember this thing. In the scarlet letter, there is a woman, right, and she is having a baby out of the wedlock, right? She was having an affair with somebody and she is having the baby, but the person has left her now. Now the puritanicals of that village, or we can say the strict people of that village, are, you know, hating her, casted her from the society, and she has been punished that she has to wear a necklace, and in that necklace there is a capital letter that has been engraved A, and this A, she has to wear this always, and this stands for adultery. Okay, and this was written in the 19th century, you should know. Okay, and Nathaniel Hawthorne पे स्टडी करी थी किसने? हेनरी जेम्स ने. PYQ था. Okay, as I have already told you. I mean negative capability, that is when a man is capable of being in uncertainties, mysteries, doubts without an irritable reaching after the fact and reason. So based on this statement, which of the options is correct? So here negative capability क्या होता है? What is negative capability? Now this was given by John Keats. While he was writing letters to his friends, he said that a person should have a negative capability. Shakespeare's characters have a negative capability. It means that we should be capable of being in uncertainties. We should not always look for the perfection. Even if we have a little knowledge of something, then we should be satisfied with that little knowledge. We should not always pursue perfection, pursue, you know, everything, every knowledge, every information, right? So we should be fine with the mystery, doubts, or we should not be somebody who is, you know, reaching after the fact and reason and making things irritating for us, for others, right? So here the answer would be that it is the ability to be receptive of the ambiguities, that even in the ambiguities, even in the confusion, everything is fine, and we should find value in the partial knowledge. Here the answer would be A and D. Okay, so this is it. So here we have Virginia Woolf wrote in Professions for Women, you have won rooms of your own in the house hitherto exclusively owned by men. That you have a room in your house, you have your own room, and these rooms were used to be first for the men. That a woman now has a room, we have resources, we are able, though not without greater labor or effort, to pay the rent. You are earning your 500 pounds, you are having money, you are being, you know, independent, but this freedom is only a beginning. The room is your own, but it is still bare because you have not furnished it yet, you have not decorated it yet. You have to have some things in your life. It's not just about having money, having place. You should have some dreams. it has to be shared. How are you going to furnish it or decorate it, right? So with whom are you going to do this? So based on this passage, we have, after reading this passage, we should know that इनमें से कौन सा क्लू है इस पैसेज का, राइट? कौन सी आर्ग्यूमेंट इसमें फिट होती है? लेट अस सी. So here, women may have attained rooms of their own, but they still have a long way to go, right? This is the thing. And the room women now own is a sign of minimal economic independence, right? Because now we, of course, we are independent, but it is still bare minimum. So this is also right. Which of the following sentences is or are correct? Rasa is a form of categorizing a text by its genres. So this is not. First of all, Ras theory is given by Bharat Muni, as I have already told you in the Natya Shastra. Okay, it is not by genre. It is by, Ras means the essence of some work, right? The essence, the juice of some work. According to Abhinav Gupta, who is a scholar in this field of Ras theory, Ras is best experienced collectively in the unison with the others. Yes, this is the answer, because Ras means that we have to make a harmony. We cannot alone read about the Ras. It is purely an aesthetic emotion. Of course, yes, and not to be confused with real life emotion. It's not that you cry, laugh. No, it is just for the aesthetic pleasure. It is Ras. It is for the aesthetic performance. This is also right. It is evoked by only performance like drama, dance. So this is wrong. So B and C would be the right answers. Okay. Now here is a poem by, our Aga Shahid Ali. Okay, he has written this poem, and this poem is, King Lear in Delhi. Okay, so you have to read this poem. And then, which of the following ideas are conveyed by this poem? So here the answer would be C and D. An exile sense of loss and longing for their homeland, and history is a constant presence all around us. Because I will not read the whole passage here, because you have to give the exam, and in the reading comprehensions marathons, I will read the passage, I will try to make you understand how to solve the things, but for now I will just give you the main idea of this passage. Now this poem has been written by Aga Shahid Ali, right? And he tells that how, there is Britishers who came to India in the New Delhi, right? And Britishers, like King Lear, there was our Jafar, Bahadur Shah Jafar, right? And these, these Britishers have, excommunicated, Britishers made Jafar leave Delhi, because after Bahadur Shah Jafar, the Mughal dynasty was on decline, or British rule came to India, right? So similar to that, this King Lear, King Lear, what he did? He divided the kingdom, right? He made people went somewhere else. So there was a division, and this similar thing happened here, right? So all these things have been said in this. Like, I think of Jafar, an emperor, being led through the street by British soldiers. His feet were in the chains, and to watch his son hanged. Exile में वो चला गया था. Unfortunate Jafar spent half of his life in hope. The other half, he was waiting. He begs for 2 yards of Delhi for burial now. He was exiled to Burma and buried in Rangoon, right? So there is a kind of loss, the lament of loss, because an exile sense of loss and longing for their homeland, because on the part of Jafar, he wants to come to his own homeland, right? There is a sense of loss, and history is a constant presence all around us. There is a history all around. We cannot forget the past, the history, right? Which of the following statements is or are true of these novels? Anna Karenina, written by Leo Tolstoy. Then we have Dead Souls is written by Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky, and we have Father Ivan Turgenev, and this Dead Souls was by Nicole Goy. Okay, so common क्या है इनमें, ठीक है? So कौन सी statement correct है? So here the answer would be they are all written by Russian authors. So yes, this is right. Women है? No, they were all written in the 19th century. This is also right. Highlight socially transgressive romantic? No. So here the answer would be A and C. Okay, so at least get the basic facts and an important summary or the major characters of Anna Karenina, Crime and Punishment, and Father and Sons. At least of this. And even if ये भी नहीं कर सकते ना, तो at least ये दो कर लेना. Okay. Now, insofar as the academic discourse of history, that is history as a discourse, as a topic produced at the institutional site of university is concerned, whenever we talk of history, of the history topic in the universities, colleges, Europe remains the sovereign. We always talk about the Europe, their education, their history, their rules, what they said. Okay, they are the supreme. We always think that. Theoretical subjects of all the histories, including the ones we call Indian, Chinese, Kenyan, and so on. We always subvert the others' history for the European ones. There is a strange, peculiar way in which all these other histories tend to become variations on a master narrative. यहाँ पे master कौन है? European को बोला जा रहा है. That they have been considered supreme, grand narratives that could be called the history of Europe. In this sense, Indian history itself is in a position of subalternity. Subalternity means कि उसको that it is not able to find voice. One can only articulate subaltern subject's position in the name of this history. So, which of the following options are implied by the passage? So, for passages, there would be marathons. वहाँ पे और अच्छे से we would practice better there. Okay. So here the answer would be, within the protocols of history writing, it is impossible to write the history of post-colonial societies without a reference to Europe. This would be the answer, because we always have the history of Europe at the center and then the histories of others का. क्योंकि whenever we talk of America, हमेशा there we have a question, who discovered India, who discovered America? So just let me know that, are you the discoverer? Are you the discoverer of India or America? No, we already existed before you came. We were already there. There was a presence of India, America. But you came on a single day and you said that you have discovered us. So there is a history of Europe which is always in the center, which is always superior. So why so? So that is the question. Now there is another passage, and in this passage, on the basis of this, which of the following options is correct? So here the answer would be, lamenting that in our contemporary world, some groups of people are forced to choose between the immersion in their own language and economic survival, and implicitly expressing despair about the hegemony of dominant languages. Now when you read this passage, you will see that what if in order to save some humans lost in their language, इसका मतलब है that there are some people who are lost in their own regional language. They speak their own mother tongue in order to deliver the humans themselves. At the expense of their language, it was better to renounce the language. That there are two people who follow their own regional language. Then there are some people who follows the language of majority, who follows the language of, upper class, who follows the other languages like English or the second language that we have. Right, so we always have to make a choice between these two things if we have to survive in this world. So we should renounce at least this language. And what if some humans were more worth saving than their language? We cannot save this human or this. We have to save both. Or we can say we have to save these people who are using their own language, who are, sustaining, preserving their traditions. So one needed to choose between them. So we are living in a period in which the question at times arises, today on this earth of humans, certain people must yield to the hegemony of dominant language, because nowadays in this age there is a hegemony of homoness. There is nothing hetero. You have to follow one. Homo means one. You have to follow a single language, a single thing. You cannot introduce varieties. They must learn the language of the masters of capital and machines. We have to learn their language. They must lose their idiom. Their idiom means they must lose their own local language, their own regional language in order to survive or live better. So, what is the main idea of this passage? That lamenting that the contemporary world some groups of people are forced to choose between immersion in their own or economic survival, because for the jobs, for the economic survival, for the machine learning, for the technology, we have to learn the second language. For instance, in India, we are learning English. And implicitly or indirectly express कर रहा है despair, disappointment about the hegemony of dominant languages. This is also right. Hegemony किसने दिया था? Just let me know. Who gave the concept of hegemony? Gramsci. Antonio Gramsci. Okay. Now there is a poem by Politics. Now this poem is written by William Butler Yeats, and in this poem there is a quotation of Thomas Mann, German writer. In our time, the destiny of man presents its meaning in its political terms. That in our times, a person's destiny was decided by how much political terms, or we can say intellectualism, that person have. So now William Butler, after reading this quote, says that it is not so. Let me tell you that. Then he writes this poem that how can I, that girl standing there, my attention fixed on Roman, Russian, Spanish politics, yet here's traveled man that knows what he talks about, and there's a politician that has both read and thought, and maybe what they say is true of war alarms. Then he says that there is a girl that is standing there, and how can I be able to, you know, talk about all these intellectual things, these political things, because there is a girl that is standing there and my attention is on that girl. But oh, that I were young again, because I'm young. I have a feeling for somebody and held her in my arms, right? So he says that love is a kind of, love is a thing that is more important to a young person, not this political war, politics, and all these things. Okay, so that is a poem. Now, which of the following options are implied? So here the answer would be C and D. Sensual desire can be in conflict with cerebral concerns. Cerebral means related to the mind, cognitive abilities, thinking, our intellectualism. Then we have physical desire does not die with age. Now we have question number 62. Now there is another passage. Now it is your homework to read this passage. I'm telling you the answer. That is, so here the answer is A, B, and C, right? So Irigae's work does not replicate the stance of traditional feminist philosophy. Now this passage has been taken from feminist theory of Lucy Irigae. Okay, so these three are the answer. Now please read this passage and look at these options, what they imply, what this passage imply. Okay, then this is again a poem, and which of the following options are implied? So this is a poem by Emily Dickinson. Okay, I like a look of agony because I know it's true. Men do not shame. Convulsion. Convulsion means distraction and contraction of body parts, right? Frustration, shiver karna. Okay, to shiver, to get shaken by stress or some frustration. Okay, so men do not sham or not simulate a truth, that men do not pretend these things. He do not pretend to be stressed or simulate karna, to pretend karna, to make believe, right? A through means pain. People do not fake their sadness or their disappointments or their mental illness or sickness. The eyes glaze once, and that is death, right? Impossible to feign. But even when somebody dies, impossible to feign the beads upon the forehead. That the beads upon forehead, the sweat that we get on our forehead, we cannot feign or lie, fake those things. By homely anguish strung. So what can be implied by this poem? So agony is not easily disguised. Yes, it cannot be disguised, because agony can be seen on our face directly, and strong anguish can produce physical effects. That if you have some anguish, some rage, then it can be seen on your body physically by sweat, by convulsion on your body, right? So that is the thing. Now there is another question. We dwell with satisfaction upon the poet's difference from his predecessors. Now this is a passage that has been taken from, the tradition and individual talent. And this passage is by T.S. Eliot. You can go and watch the lectures on criticism on our channel. We have 4 videos, and in those 4 videos I have covered all the criticism. Even culture studies, maybe we have 3 videos you can cover, right? For the British, we have crispy videos on autobiographies and so pen names and so many things. So you can go and watch the lectures, enjoy them, learn them. We dwell with satisfaction upon poets' difference from the predecessors. We always get happy and satisfied that how a poet is different from the predecessors, the poets who were living in the past ages, right? Especially his immediate predecessors, the recent ones. Whereas if we approach a poet without this prejudice, we shall often find that not only the best but the most individual parts of his works may be those in which the dead poet says ancestor assert their immortality vigorously. And we find that if there is a work and there is a passage which is written very beautifully, right? So there is a trace, that there is a sign that this work has been inspired from the past writers. That the most individual parts of any work has an inspiration from the past writers, from the dead poets. Which of the followings can be implied by this excerpt? A, B, and D. Being different from one's predecessors need not be the defining characteristics of a good poet. That here he's a kind of critiquing that if you are different from the past writers, that does not make you a great poet. Of course, you have your own talent, and there is, you have to take some inspiration from the past writer, right? And what we consider original in a poem may be deeply rooted in tradition. Yes, there can be some tradition, there can be some inspiration. It's not that you are the one who has a talent, it's not that you are the only creator. You might have taken some inspiration from the past writers. The past is often a living presence because there is a presence of the past, the pastness that is present in our present. In contemporary poetry, that past exists even in the present also. Now these are some of the ideas from this important essay. Okay, you can go and watch the lectures on this criticism part if you want to understand the concept in detail. Okay, we have the last question, and that is, which factors led to the rise and popularity of the novel in English? So here the answer would be the rise of literacy test. Yes, because in the Victorian period there was a rise of novels in England. Why? Because literacy आ गई थी, magazines, periodicals, essays आ गए थे, literacy आ गई थी, लोग पढ़ने लगे थे, education acts were there, reform acts were there, the spread of printing presses throughout England, so this is also right, and the migration of large number of writers, intellectuals from Italy. No, Italy का कोई, there is no mention of Italy in Victorian age, right? ये था रेनेसा के टाइम पे. Okay, about the Elizabethan age. The rise of bourgeois, so this is also right. Bourgeois कौन है? Middle class people. Okay, so A, B and D would be the answer. Okay, if you want to know better about this, you can go and watch to the playlist of British Made Easy. Okay, we have the playlist British Made Easy, or you can also check the channel, and there are videos on all the ages from Anglo-Saxon to the postmodern age. So you can go and look at specific ages. We have the important ages जैसे है विक्टोरियन है, रोमांटिक है, मॉडर्न है, पोस्ट मॉडर्न है, एलिजाबेथन देख लो. ये कुछ important आपकी ages हैं, right? So go and check these videos, okay? Because you are having questions from the history of English literature also, right? So this is all about our video, and I hope that you will do the homework that I have given you, and please write in the comment section all the answers that I have asked you in this video, and after this we would cover PYQ of 2025. Okay, so this is all about it. I hope that you have liked this video, and please subscribe to our channel. After this we would upload lectures on the verbal aptitude and XH-B1 section, a few topics on reasoning, reading comprehension exclusively, right? And we have also made a last 10 days strategy, right? And in those strategy I have shared the most important and repeated topics of XH-B1 aptitude, and for English literature I will also upload marathons, okay, of the most important writers and topics, right? So this would be really beneficial for you, so subscribe, and thank you.